All right, guys, what's going on today? Hey, what do you want to do today in class? Hey. Yeah, Ben, what do you need, buddy?
I want to learn how to write a DBQ.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what you just said.
I want to learn how to write a DBQ.
Look at that. I want to teach y'all how to write a DBQ. For this class, it's going to be a little bit different than some of you that have learned it in AP Euro, or if you have any other introductions to writing a DBQ. There are a couple of different steps. It's going to get methodical, but it works. All right, so there's a definite process that you all have to know, and it might seem pretty, formulaic. It is formulaic, but I have about 11 years of track record of success. So just follow these simple steps, 7 or 8 steps. You knew yourself were writing great DBQs by hopefully by May. So while I start writing on the board, can you pass out the DBQ? There you go. All right. You doing all right, buddy? Where's that WP again? What?
Yeah, 5.
All right, step 1. It's pretty obvious. Read the DBQ question. And in this case, this is a pretty easy one for you guys to write because you did your debate on this in essence. All right. And so the question is, to what extent was British colonial policy to blame for the outbreak of war in the American colonies in 1775? Thank you. Did she make a mistake? All right. So usually they're going to give you a statement. And then they're going to say, use your documents and your knowledge of the time period of 1763 to 1776. So after you read the question, all right, look at time frame. They are usually significant years. All right, so this case, when I say significant years, that means something major happened. All right, so Shannon, 1763, what are they getting at?
Isn't that when 1763? I don't remember.
You do though, because as soon as Logan tells you, you're going, oh, son of a, I knew this. Yeah.
It's the end of salutary neglect.
Or, great, super, or what event?
Proclamation line.
Prior to that, but that would work as well. Over here, Randy.
Treaty of Paris.
Of
The ending of the French Indian War.
Excellent. So usually, Shannon, you knew that, right? Tell Shannon wants to talk again.
I do.
Yeah. So what's 1763?
The end of the French and Indian War.
Perfect. Which of course is going to lead to, which a lot of historians believe, that's the beginning. So, and then of course, 1776 is the other end. What major events? 1776. Let's say July-ish. Cassandra.
The Constitution was
Never written in 1776. What's that?
The Declaration of Independence.
All right. So now we know all your DBQs are going to be given a time frame. And so you should be thinking about what major events are we talking about. In this case, the French and Indian War and the writing of the Declaration of Independence, which we all know is the greatest breakup letter. That balloon right there is, look at the Stars and Stripes balloon. Holy cats, right there. See, America's everywhere. It's the best. All right, so now that, look at the time frame. Figure out events / eras. All right, but usually they're going to be around an event. And the key thing with, especially between AP Euro and AP US, use your documents and your knowledge. So if you write me an essay just on information that you get from the documents, it might be the greatest essay in the history of essays. But if you only use information or content or history or knowledge that you get from the documents, I can't give you anything higher than a C on it because you wrote a great essay. But you have to bring in your own knowledge of the topic. So there's no substitute for content. I know in AP Euro, you look at the documents, super. Then you write a nice little article about something European, right? In here, which could be anything, who knows? Metternich, or is that somebody, Metternich? Was that somebody?
Yeah.
Right? Garibaldi, I don't know, whatever. He's Italian, I have to go, yeah. He's a dish. APUS, you gotta get documents and your own knowledge of the time period, which is usually the tricky part, because a lot of kids just want to rely on the documents. That's why sometimes you struggle at first. So the next thing that y'all have to do, this is where kids always kind of, they freak out. Write your thesis. Get it down. That's the hardest part. Get the thesis down. So, yeah, we have a question. Elin, go.
Should a thesis be a 3-point thesis?
Look at that guy. For DBQ, 3-point thesis. FRQ, 2-point thesis. Usually, typically that's what's going to happen, all right? So, how do you organize a thesis? What am I looking for in a thesis? Amanda.
Do you have to restate the question?
What I would always start out the thesis, perfect. So, my thesis statement would be, on this one, or part of my thesis statement would be, British policy, to some extent, was to blame for the outbreak of the American colonies in 1775 because, and then you fill in those three things, this, and this. Now, the key wording there, and my AP kids always hate this, to what extent or assess the validity of a statement, that gives you, there's no yes or no, there's no black or white, all right? To what extent gives you, the writer, the ability to say, yeah, to some extent it was the fault of British policy, but then you can also have a paragraph by saying, so, you know, the colonials were also at fault. So it gives you that leeway. You don't have to do that, but it gives you that leeway of doing that, because then it shows me, the reader, that, yeah, my kid gets this. Right? They know the complexity of the issue. So, what kind of things are we looking for? What should be like the first three things that pop in your mind as far as when you are writing a thesis? So you get a question, you're not really sure of where you want to take this. What three things can you easily explore as far as themes go in writing a thesis? Faith?
Like social, political, and economic.
If you have nothing else, at least start with that. All right? Start with social, political, economic. Now, I don't really want to see that in a thesis. It's not very complex. However, it is a thesis. Your mind, like when you're starting to think about it, it should start with that. But I really don't want to see that in your thesis statement because it's not really that complex. To what extent, yeah, the British policy was, to some extent, the blame for the war because of social, economic, and political reasons. Okay, does it work? Absolutely. Are you going to get credit for a thesis? Absolutely. Are you going to get credit for a great, well-developed thesis? No. And so you probably already just kind of omitted yourself from getting an 8 or 9 on that essay. However, that you still could possibly score very well with that, but we're looking for a complex thesis. To give you an example of something that I don't want to give anything away here, there was a 1950s essay about to what extent does President Eisenhower address Cold War fears in America? And so obviously part of your thesis would be explaining what those fears were. You know, you could say fears of the atomic bomb, fears of a Soviet invasion, and then, you know, fears of McCarthyism, things of that. So you are taking social, political, and economic, and you're weaving them in your answer. But you kind of want to give examples in your thesis. So, the next step, write a list of you want to write a list of historical events. Bam. So you're thinking, what types of things? Even before you read the documents, if you're writing an essay on American Revolution, what are you putting down? Jessica.
Certain acts.
What's that?
Like
All right. So you're gonna go with acts. All right. What else? Cassandra.
Battles.
Battles, very good. However, why would you're going to be limited on battles, how come? Connor?
The time frame.
Time frame, all right? So you will be limited, because it's 1776, so you're basically going to you'll get to use like Trenton, Lexington, and Concord, but you'll be limited on battles. But I'm going to kind of put stuff up for any DBQ. So you want to think of acts, that kind of just means laws, all right? Battles, people, court cases, books, you know, etc. Anything like movements like a Harlem Renaissance or any, so something, we're looking for historical content. So that if you wrote this essay without the documents, you have all sorts of historical content all ready to go to defend your thesis. All of these should defend your thesis, defend argument. And that's what I'll be looking for in your essay. Randy, question, son.
Can we use like certain events like for example, like the Boston Tea Party, just like aggressive actions or like just actions of people in general? Like, could that be like supporting
what do you
some
mean?
thesis? Like for this one, it said like to what extent was the British colonial policy to blame for the outbreak of like that? Can we use like the colonists were so mad that they had like the Boston Tea Party, and then from that we got the Tea Act, I believe it was.
So you're actually thinking about putting the Tea Party in the thesis? You could, but I would probably put down, it's kind of like really specific, but you could put down,
Political movements.
something about actually like colonial responses to laws, like Sons of Liberty or Tea Act or things of that nature. So if you know you want to talk about the like colonial response to something in your essay, like the actions, yeah, absolutely.